Did you know that a single unsecured port or a misplaced email could expose your entire network to cyber attacks? In today's digital landscape, protecting your information systems is non-negotiable. But how do you manage user accounts, secure mobile devices, and prevent data leaks effectively? In this video, we'll dive into advanced security concepts like Active Directory, mobile device management, MDM, and data loss prevention, DLP. By the end, you'll have the tools to lock down your systems and keep your data safe. Ready to become a security pro? Let's get started. In this second part on the security of information systems, we will familiarize ourselves with other security concepts. We start with Active Directory, which allows for the centralization of the management of user accounts, but also of their machines. With Active Directory, you don't connect directly to your computer, but to a domain controller, which is the server that authenticates users. Active Directory also has several security features that we will see below. Group policies allow you to determine restrictions on all users, such as the complexity of a password or the ability to log in only during working hours. We say group policy because thanks to Active Directory, they can be applied directly to groups of users. Active Directory also allows the centralized management of Windows updates, which is a huge advantage in terms of security. Logon scripts are scripts that run when a user logs in. They can be used to run a disk scan by an anti-malware during login, for example, or display pop-ups with security recommendations. Organizational units are used to organize users, user groups, and computers. For example, group policy can be assigned to an organizational unit. In general, these units imitate the structure of the company with an accounting unit, a marketing unit, a production unit, etc. A home folder or personal directory is simply a directory assigned to each user. They allow you to store personal files, but also to share them with other users. And finally, folder redirects allow you to create network shortcuts on folders on a server. Mobile device management, MDM. Let's move on to mobile device management. Nowadays, smartphones and tablets have become widely used IT tools in companies. Sometimes the employee uses their personal phone for work tasks, and sometimes the company provides a dedicated device for this purpose. In any case, the company wants to protect its data and therefore needs a system that allows the use of these mobile devices to be managed remotely. To do this, it may be interesting to opt for a mobile device management solution that will allow you to manage a large number of mobile devices centrally. This can allow the administrator to control app installation, centralize update management, limit features such as camera usage, etc., or limiting the use to a geographical area, geofencing. We will now look at the subject of port security. Machines, whether in their cabinets, in a server room, or even dispatched to a company's premises, can have ports to which nothing is connected. And for a person with bad intentions, all of these ports can be potential points of attack. It is not always possible to monitor these ports with personnel or cameras. Well, generally, switches, routers, and network interfaces can be set to disable certain ports when not in use. In the event that a port is used occasionally by several users or devices, it is possible to activate an alert system that will notify you when a device connects to that port. Next, let's move on to MAC address filtering. A MAC address is a bit like the license plate of a network interface, and each network card has a MAC address that is unique. And although it is at the level of a router or a switch, it is possible to filter the network interfaces that will be allowed or denied by creating a list of allowed MAC addresses. It will therefore have to be updated in the event that other machines are added to the network. It is important to know that MAC filtering is unfortunately not considered a good security measure. Indeed, It is very easy for a hacker to retrieve MAC addresses by analyzing the TCP by IP traffic of the network, and then falsify the MAC address of a standard network card in order to pass it off as an authorized interface. ACL, which is an acronym for Access Control List, is a list that allows the authorization or blocking of traffic on the network. This data traffic management is carried out on criteria such as the source IP, the recipient's IP, the port used, and the protocol used. For example, we could block all traffic on port 80, which is the insecure HTTP port, in order to force users to always use the HTTPS that passes through port 443. This ACL is used on various network interfaces, and for example, it can be used on a switch to organize traffic in the company, on a QoS interface, quality of service, and more often on a firewall or directly on the router in order to protect the internal network. We will now look at DLP, which is the acronym for Data Loss Prevention. From payslips to health information, invoices, and payment receipts, companies are responsible for data that is sometimes confidential. Well, to protect yourself from the leakage of this data to the outside of the company, it is important to set up a data loss prevention system. This makes it possible to comply with the following regulations: HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, a U.S. regulation on the privacy of health data; GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation; European Data Protection Regulation; PCI DSS, Payment Card Information Data Security Standard, a security standard for payment methods. The goal of DLP is therefore to identify, prevent, and stop data leakage. But unfortunately, there are a large number of ways to transmit information from one place to another. This can be copy to physical media, attachments, files sent to the cloud, and even photographs or videos of confidential information. Data loss prevention therefore takes the form of applications that will monitor data transfers at the firewall or user workstations, but also internal company policies such as the management of access rights to certain files, for example. Let's move on to the smart card, which is nothing more or less than a smart card that contains a digital certificate. Well, in some companies, a smart card is required to connect to the network. Often, a card reader can be found on laptops that allows both user authentication when they are in the company, but also when using a VPN. When you log in, the digital certificate on the card is transmitted and tells the authentication server that you are the owner of the card. A smart card is often used in multi-factor authentication. Indeed, the smart card falls into the category something you own, and it is not recommended to use it alone as a means of authentication, as it can be stolen, lost, or even cloned. Next, we're going to look at the authentication token as an app. You may now be familiar with hardware authentication tokens, which come in the form of an RFID key fob, a smart card, or a key fob with a screen that displays a code. Well, there are also software-type tokens, which are applications that most often run on today's smartphones. This application provides a code that allows authentication to a server, and this code changes every 30 seconds, for example. But suddenly, the server and the phone must have the same code. And to do this, both the server and the application use a pseudo-random code generation algorithm. This means that the sequence of code generated every 30 seconds on a phone seems random, but in fact, it can be replicated on the server side and thus allow a user to be authenticated. And we end this course on security concepts with email filtering. Email filtering simply identifies and hides unwanted emails to prevent the user from opening them. We are all well aware today of the problem of spams, these unsolicited emails that invade our mailboxes, and we must also be aware that emails are often an entry point for hackers. Indeed, they can send emails that seem legitimate at first glance, but are in fact used as an attack vector. Today, It must be said that most mailboxes include an automated email filtering system. But this was not always the case. The email filtering system checks the content to identify, for example, emails from addresses known to be spam. The content of the text of the email, as some often have a similar structure or use special characters in order to evade filtering. The contents of attachments, which sometimes may have scripts or executables, and sometimes these filtering systems even include an antivirus that scans attachments.